You know, guys, I made one video about 5 years ago now. I think it was like, if I remember rightly, it was like the early part of 2019. I did one video about Devin Haney, and the video's entitled Devin Haney, the Next Great Hope. I'll leave a link to in the description section to that video. That was the first video where I believe I ever mentioned Devin Haney. And it's only about a 5 minute video, and I'd appreciate you guys to check that one out, because essentially everything I said in that video basically sums up everything you will ever need to know about Devin Haney. Alright? Everything that I said in that short 5 minute video, nothing has really changed. You know, Devin Haney, as soon as I heard this guy's name, Devin Haney, as soon as I looked into him and did like 5 seconds of research on the guy, I knew everything I needed to know about him. You know, he was the next Deontay Wilder. He was the next, great hope. He was the next guy who the American boxing establishment was going to push until it got to the stage where they were ready to basically throw him under the bus and use him to build somebody else. Now, I said in that video that basically he was being groomed to essentially fight Vasyl Lomachenko, right? That was kind of his destiny. That was what he was going to be used for. And I essentially said in that video that it wasn't going to go well for him, that when he fights Lomachenko, he's going to get embarrassed, he's going to get completely and utterly exposed, and he's going to get, basically, he's going to get beaten so badly that you'll probably never hear about him again. Now, the Lomachenko fight, of course, did end up happening about 3 years later, and Lomachenko, as I predicted, he won the fight clearly, won the fight conclusively, but it just so happened that Lomachenko at that stage of his career, 3 years after I made that video, had declined just enough to where Devin Haney was able to survive being viciously knocked out or being beaten into submission, and just by being a black American and fighting in Vegas and having three corrupt, degenerate piece of shit bent American judges on his side, you know, was able to get the decision. So yeah, that kind of blew that one out the water. But my points that I made in the video still stand. Devin Haney was utterly embarrassed in that fight. It showed not only his technical deficiencies, but it showed his physical limitations, alright? As I've been saying from day one, Devin Haney has no power, right? The guy can't punch. You know, he's basically Paulie Malignaggi, but with a glass chin. You know, that's the comparison that some people have made. And, you know, to me, Devin Haney is just the typical, and I've said this before, he's the typical PBC fighter, right? And I know he's technically not a PBC fighter, but he might as well be. You know, he's one of these feather-fisted, limp-wristed black guys with no chin, no physical strength, no power, doesn't even know how to throw a punch, right? No defense whatsoever, just stands, you know, with a low guard, with his chin exposed, hanging right over his front foot, begging to be knocked out. But because his fights are just flat out rigged most of the time, you know, with him being a establishment fighter, they're able to pay his opponents off. The first fight I ever saw of his was the fight he had against Zara Abdullayev. Now, Zara Abdullayev is a warrior, right? That's a guy who can punch, got a great chin, right? A guy who will stand toe-to-toe and duke it out with big punches for 12 rounds. He goes in there against Devin Haney and just quits on his stool for no reason. Literally does nothing in 4 rounds and just quits on his stool for no reason. So, again, that fight tells you everything you need to know about Devin Haney. He's not a fighter. He's essentially an actor, right? He's a bodybuilder and fitness model, you know, who's basically been brought into the sport to play a role, right? He's not a serious competitor, right? So I really didn't want to get at all invested in Devin Haney's boxing career, because I didn't really think that his legacy in the sport would really go beyond his fight with Vasyl Lomachenko. I kind of thought that would be it. But it seems to me that the boxing establishment, and this is something that I noticed as time went on with Devin Haney, they were more and more desperate to basically push him and use him to essentially push politics and propaganda. You know, we had the whole I'll never lose to a white boy thing, which of course came long after I made that video. That was said, I believe, in the build-up to the Lomachenko fight. Or was it the build-up to the Kambosos fight? I can't remember. It was one or the other. But again, the point still stands. That was something that came later, after I'd basically stopped paying attention to Devin Haney, because I didn't really want to give his career any coverage whatsoever. I just kind of wanted to wait till it all blew over, till he finally had his beating off Lomachenko, and then he went into obscurity where he belongs. So he got the bent victory over Lomachenko. He was basically gifted the WBC title. They essentially took the belt off Lomachenko and just handed it to Devin Haney over an email. I mentioned it back in that video that it was reminiscent of the situation we had with Sergio Martinez, where the WBC just took the belt off him and gave it to Chavez Jr. because of family connections. Well, it's similar with Devin Haney, because as we later found out from an interview from Mauricio Sulaiman, the WBC's president, he openly admitted on a live interview that the WBC have supported Devin Haney from the amateurs. Now, can somebody in the comment section, anybody who's in the know, anybody who knows more than I do about, say, boxing politics or the legalities of these sanctioning bodies, how exactly can a sanctioning body support a professional fighter from the amateurs? Now, what is it that a professional sanctioning body, what jurisdiction do they have, or what system do they have in place to support an amateur fighter? Like, do they have some sort of sponsorship program or something like that? Because I honestly don't know what that could have possibly meant from Mauricio Sulaiman's perspective. How could the WBC have sponsored Devin Haney from the amateurs? And how could it be so blatant? And how could the alignment there be so obvious to the point where they literally were able to just take the belt off of the champion and give it to Devin Haney? I mean, how was there no lawsuit involved there? That's what I really don't understand. I mean, because to me that sounds like an admission of a major conflict of interest. All right, so if I were Lomachenko, or if I were Lomachenko's team, I would have been looking into that and pursuing legal action, because clearly, like I said, it's a conflict of interest. But that's neither here nor there. The Haney Lomachenko saga is well and truly done with. Lomachenko clearly beat Haney and beat him convincingly and conclusively, and pretty much anybody who has a shred of integrity or knows anything about how to score a fight knows that Lomachenko won that fight, and that pretty much should have been all we've heard from Devin Haney. We should have never heard about him again. But it seems to me like the boxing establishment, because of the way that fight went, and because of kind of the backlash that fight generated, they kind of don't know what to do with Devin Haney. They kind of didn't really plan that far ahead, because Devin Haney right now, despite being a supposed undisputed champion, despite having numerous titles and titles in multiple divisions now, and despite somehow being gifted a spot on the pound-for-pound list, the guy still can't fill a kettle. He can't sell tickets, he can't sell pay-per-views. Nobody's really interested in him. He's not a big name, probably never will be. His fights are boring. His just everything surrounding him is boring. Like, the guy basically just came out of nowhere. Right? Didn't have any hype from the amateurs. Didn't have any promise. Nothing. He was one of these guys. Kind of like a Christopher Lovejoy type, where he kind of built his record over in Mexico fighting jobbers, and it's really suspicious as to the validity of his record anyway. Like, did all those fights actually happen? I mean, I haven't seen footage of them, but yeah, he's got one of these like really dubious, really suspicious looking records over in Mexico, where it's very, very well known that things aren't always, like, records aren't always kept, and things aren't always recorded, and it's very, very easy to kind of con your way through the low-level professional boxing circuit over there. So for Devin Haney to have gone through that circuit, and then all of a sudden came out of nowhere, and everybody was talking about him beating Lomachenko, and everybody was talking about him being the next Mayweather and the next pound for pound great. I mean, it was pretty obvious to any of us in the know that Devin Haney was basically just he was basically just a manufactured hype job, a manufactured fraud, and that his career was, up until his destiny, which is what I would describe it, of being the guy to, finally having a black guy to finally beat Lomachenko. I talked about that in the first video. It just seems to me like they didn't know what to do with him from that point on. So he's ended up getting his ass kicked by Ryan Garcia, who, my opinion, is just an absolute bum. Guy with no chin, no skill, no defense, doesn't train properly, doesn't take the fight seriously. He looks to me like a guy who, and I would equate Ryan Garcia to someone like Jake Paul. To me, he's just an Instagram, like an internet celebrity who just happens to also be involved in boxing. And he himself has had some blatantly fixed fights. I mean, if you look at his fight with, his fight with Luke Campbell, who Luke Campbell accidentally knocked him down and almost had the guy out cold, had him right on the verge of a knockout defeat. And then Luke Campbell was like, crap, I wasn't supposed to do that. So he stopped throwing punches and then, basically just let the guy recover, and then quote unquote got knocked out by a body punch. That was funny, man. That was a funny situation. And yeah, so Ryan Garcia, again, just in my personal opinion, there's nothing there. He's just an Instagram model. He's a pretty boy. He's a twink. And he's shown consistently in the past that he has no chin. When he has had real fights, he's gotten hurt and struggled badly against flipping Mexican journeymen. Definitely not a world-class fighter. But the fact that he went in there and just put an absolute battering on Devin Haney, just exposed Devin Haney for the absolute chinless, skillless, bum that he actually is. It was funny, but at the same time it's confusing, because you would have thought that the American boxing establishment would have preferred to keep the Haney show going a little bit longer. Well, I say that to say this. What's ended up happening is, as you guys know, we've had Ryan Garcia has had a bit of a setback. It turns out he's apparently failed a drug test. I don't know the details of the drug test. I could care less, to be honest. I don't really care about PEDs in boxing. But as a result of the drug test, I'm assuming that the result of the fight is going to be overturned. We know already that because Ryan didn't make weight for the fight, I don't think he even tried to make weight for the fight, if truth be told, Devin Haney's already been able to keep a hold of his title. So we essentially have a perfect situation here for the American boxing establishment. Haney's taken a beating, he's been put in his place, and he's been exposed, and officially exposed this time, because, I mean, let's be honest, he should already have about 2 or 3 losses. Right, he had allegedly, he had a loss early in his career that was overturned, and I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, the rumour must have come from somewhere, and it wouldn't be that difficult to do. As I mentioned before, with the state of the whole Mexican boxing situation there, he in my opinion, he would have lost to Jorge Linares if that fight was real. It's just that Jorge Linares decided to read the script and decided to carry Devin Haney. He had ample opportunity in that fight to knock Devin Haney out cold. Had him out on his feet on numerous occasions and just stopped boxing, just stopped throwing punches. Zara Abdullayev, who I have absolutely no doubt would knock the absolute crap out of Devin Haney in a real fight, but he just quit against him in 4 rounds for no reason, because that's a guy who has power, who has heart, who can actually fight, who will stand in the pocket with you and will duke it out with you for 12 rounds. He's been able to do that with big punchers and better fighters than Devin Haney. And he's a guy who's even got off the canvas to win fights, yet he just quits in 4 rounds against Devin Haney, a guy who can't punch and a guy who's got no chin. Like, I don't need to spell it out for you guys what happened there, but yeah. Jojo Diaz, I think, also beat him, got robbed. And obviously, we've already discussed Lomachenko beat him and got robbed. So Devin Haney should probably already have about 4 or 5 losses at least. But it seems like the American boxing establishment have got his back. It seems like we have a Haney protection program, kind of like what we had with Wilder. You know, where Deontay Wilder was the WBC champion, and every single time he had a mandatory who was going to be a difficult fight for him, or somebody that wasn't coming to lose, all of a sudden they would fail a drug test suspiciously. And that went on for several years until the establishment were finally done with Wilder, and they threw him in with Fury for like kind of a ritual sacrifice. I think that's the only way I can describe that situation. But yeah, so Devin Haney, it's a comical situation because I don't even care. I don't give a crap about Ryan Garcia. I don't give a crap about Devin Haney. I don't give a crap about any of these guys. I'm not really that into boxing. I just kind of find the situation funny, given everything that's happened over the years, and to see how the American boxing establishment just continues to bend over backwards for this Devin Haney guy to try and keep him undefeated. When really the guy should have about 5 losses by now. I just find it funny, man. And the way that they've kind of marketed Devin Haney as well, the thing that they keep saying that kind of keeps him from getting criticism is the whole, he a black man and he being oppressed by the system cause he a cheating ass bitch. You know, that's going to be the narrative for the next few months about how Ryan is a cheating ass bitch. He takes steroids and Haney is totally clean. You know, Haney, the guy who weighs in at 140 pounds and then puts on 2 stone in 24 hours. You know, so he puts on like 2 stone from the weigh-in to the fight. Yeah, that guy's clean. That guy's totally clean. He's never taken a PED in his life, that guy. You know, but the guy he fought who couldn't make weight and who barely even trains and is basically an Instagram model, that guy's the one on steroids. Like, yeah, sure. It's similar with Deontay Wilder. You know, Deontay Wilder's a guy who would gain like 20 pounds, or he would lose or gain 20 pounds of solid muscle in the build up to a from one fight to the next, right? And it was his opponents. It was the little fat guys from Eastern Europe and the little fat guy from Cuba. You know, those were the ones who were testing positive for anabolic steroids, not him, right? So yeah, Haney's got his very own Wilder protection program. We need to call it the Haney protection program, you know, because he being oppressed by the system, cause he a black man and the system, duh, duh, duh. You know, we're gonna hear a whole bunch of we're gonna hear a whole bunch of chimp outs over in the next few months. But I'm eager to see what happens because, I mean, look, the Floyd Mayweather era, it was a lot more easy to do this, you know, to play the race card and to basically just rig a whole career. And, you know, before the age of social media where things became a lot more transparent, it was very, very easy to get away with it. But with Devin Haney, it's going to be very, very difficult to sell his career going forward. Like, are the normies going to buy into Devin Haney? Like, are they going to see this Ryan Garcia situation and how he's a cheating ass bitch and he putting people's lives at risk? Are they going to see that, and are they going to develop some sort of, like, retroactive sympathy for Devin Haney? And is that going to be used to promote Devin Haney's career going forward? I don't know, man. But, let me be honest about it. The reason I'm making this video, and this is the main reason, is because I promised you guys last Saturday on my last live stream that I would have a video for you this week. So I hope you enjoyed this one. This is my rambling, incoherent thoughts about boxing. Who knows? I'm probably wrong about all this. Devin Haney's fights are probably all real. He's probably really the greatest ever. And Ryan Garcia is probably the next Ivan Drago. I don't know. But, yeah, let me know what you guys think anyway. Remember to pound that like button, right? Don't go any further until you've pounded it with all your might. Right? And remember to subscribe too. And, yeah, stay tuned for constant updates for every single popular topic in boxing. And, don't forget to donate to the channel as well, because I need them ducats. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay vigilant and God bless.